अब मैं अपनी फैमिली का नाम रोशन करने वाला चश्म चिराग, तो अपने को तो इतना कोई फाइट ही नहीं था लाइफ में। फिर पता नहीं कहाँ से एक फ्रेंड के चक्कर में ही कैट दे दिया, 99.9 परसेंटाइल आ गए, IIM अहमदाबाद में एडमिशन हो गया। तो फैमिली को रियलाइज हुआ कि वो हो वी हैव वन मोर कंटेंडर, चैरिटी केस नहीं है, ये तो डर भी का हो रहा है। I run a sports team called Kolkata Thunderbolts. It's a volleyball franchisee. We run what is called the Prime Volleyball League, PVL. PVL is now the third biggest sports league in India after IPL and Kabaddi in terms of viewership per match. It is a private league. That means it is completely owned privately. It's not a government-owned league. There are 8 teams in the PVL currently, and all 8 of us together constitute the entire ownership of the league. Thunderbolts was the champion for the first season and the league toppers for the second season. Our cumulative viewership right now is around 205 million per season.
What transition do you see in India in the recent times that you actually believe that volleyball might be a big part of the country's future?
Yeah, I'll take a minute to talk about this. We're gonna snip out all your political correctness. Is gonna be snip, clickbait. Dude, I've fallen in serious trouble before, so I try to be as politically correct. Cricket is the only religion in India. And you know why that is? You have any idea why is cricket a religion? Thank you so much for having me on your beautifully crafted podcast so far. I did my basic research and I think you guys are onto something really big.
Let's start a little bit about the whole fact that sports are next to religion in the current society. If you think about how much they are followed for how little they really matter in someone's natural life, and yet even me and Vishwa, despite knowing this, wake up at 5 a.m. to watch a Manchester United game or wake up till 3 a.m. to watch a Manchester United game. Right? So let's go about why do sports matter to you so much and why am I talking about sports? Who are you?
Well, Akhil, I'll contradict you a little bit over there about what you said, how sports is a religion, right? Now, we'll talk about the Indian society. Unfortunately, sports is not a religion in India. Cricket is, right? When we talk about the fan following for football, like you mentioned, the late night matches or the early morning matches for United, it's a very small subsect of the population, which comprises of basically people like us who had an extended exposure to the European culture and the American culture, who are into following international football. But today, if you were to go down to the streets, there are a lot of people who are watching United matches. I mean, yes, there are posters of Messi and Ronaldo everywhere because these two idols, or even the other ones like a Neymar or a Suarez or whoever, like these people have become like heroes. So, of course, they are followed on Instagram virally everywhere. But if you think about the core fans, right? हमारे वो marketing में concept होता था ना, core and the core connoisseurs of a brand or of a activity or of anything, and then you've got your amateurs. So every brand always focuses on the core, and then the amateurs kind of tend to flock to it. So if you look at the core fan following of European soccer or American soccer now that Messi is a part of Miami, it's a very small subsect of us. This is an echo chamber that क्योंकि देख मेरा तो विश्व है, विश्व यूनाइटेड फॉलो करता है, एक बेस्ट फ्रेंड है बचपन का यश, वो आर्सेनल को फॉलो करता है. सो दिस इज जस्ट एन एको चेंबर. It's me and the people like me, but we are not even 1% of the population of the country. So cricket is the only religion in India. And you know why that is? Do you have any idea why is cricket a religion? It's because we won the 1983 World Cup. Up until 1982, BCCI was practically bust. Right? When we won the World Cup in 83 also, number one, half the matches weren't even broadcasted. We didn't have the money to watch our own team play. When we won the World Cup, we did not even have the money to give them as a cash prize. BCCI went running to late Lata Mangeshkar, begged her to do a free concert. She did a free concert in Delhi. They raised 25 lakh rupees from the concert, and then they gave 1 lakh rupees as prize money to the World Cup winning squad of 83. What happens in human nature, human psychology, is that as soon as a country does something good, and a new country like ours that gained independence only in 47 started to make its international identity, when we do something good on an international front, right, the tribalism of the human psychology kicks in, and you tend to start following that sport. Cut to 2023, BCCI is the richest sporting body in the world. It has more power, more money, more resources than ICC, which is the International Cricket Council. 2016, I think, was when Abhinav Bindra won the gold medal in shooting.
Beijing 2008.
Beijing, he won again in 2015 or 16 as well. Regardless, whichever year that was, right? Research shows that the sale for shooting equipment in India after Abhinav Bindra won the gold medal went up by 350% in a quarter because of the same tribalistic nature, right? So, abhi javelin ke sath wo ho raha hai, right? Now everybody is talking about it. So, the idea is that what I do, I'll take a moment to introduce myself and what I'm doing exactly at this juncture as well, right? I'm a 28-year-old second-gen entrepreneur. I'm an MBA from Ahmedabad. Before that, I was at Emory University doing my undergrad. I've also done a semester at London School of Economics. So I've done a double majors in economics and finance during my undergrad. Then I worked in a brokerage house at Bombay for 2 years. And then I decided to do my MBA, went to Ahmedabad. Graduated from Ahmedabad with an offer from investment banking, with a job that I signed on in consulting at Bain & Company. But I actually ended up reneging on that offer and I never ended up joining them. And I paid them a hefty penalty for pulling this one on that.
So, Sumedh, I think what Akhil meant when he was saying that sport is equivalent to religion is not just about comparing sport in India. If you look at sport around the world, I think the only thing that divides or that unites as much as sport or a sports team is religion. Today, I meet somebody and if they tell me they're a Manchester United fan,
you click. That click. Absolutely. Mandela said sports is the only thing that can change the world. If Mandela said it, dude, it must be right. It must be right. See, the thing is, even for that, right? Like, I mean, yes, absolutely agreed with the overall sentiment about sport. But it is also varied levels of different sports, like I was saying. Also, it is more of an advanced country which has surplus resources. That is when, like, you start focusing on sports and the development of sports in the country. See, for the last 50, 60 years, India as a country had much bigger problems to deal with. We have finally reached what is being called the golden era. Our GDP is growing great, inflation under check, employment is going good, industry is going good, international relations is going great, right? I am not politically biased towards anybody. I'm just like reading out facts and perceptions of the public. So at this point, we've come to a juncture where we realize that it is very important for us to also prove our dominance in science and technology and in sports. That is why Chandrayaan just happened last week, and it was such a proud moment for the entire country. The Asian championships are going on right now in the volleyball championship that's happening in Iran. The women's championship is happening in Thailand. The Asian Games is coming up in Beijing, in China, in this year. The Cricket World Cup is going to be happening again. India is going to be one of the host countries. So this is the time for us. And now we are also setting our eyes on hosting the Olympics. Never did we imagine 20 years ago that India will be able to host the Olympics. But we are one of the strongest contenders for 2036 Olympics. So the bidding for the 36 Olympics is going to happen in 28. So we have 5 years to develop the infrastructure in India so that we can make a successful bid to be the host country for 36.
I really agree on the fact that when we have a common topic, we all run towards it and we unite. Even in the movie, the 83 movie, the one about the India winning the World Cup with Kapil Dev and everybody, that movie, the Gandhi family is shown to actually use that as a pivot to start uniting the country. And you can see that the army is coming into people's houses to see is India winning or not. And then India goes crazy. And I love it. I think being able to connect with strangers over common topics. So we read this book, me and Vishnu, it's called Sapiens. Absolutely amazing book. Anybody who's not read it, please go out and buy a copy or just read it online. That talks about how everything is a story. We humans survive on stories and stories combine us. And a sports team is a story. A nation is a story. Right? We like to tell ourselves that geographical lines actually exist, and we like to tell ourselves that we are a part of this story called India. We are a part of the story called Manchester United, or we are a part of the story called Indian cricket team. And we like to combine over that. And I love the fact, and I am a strong believer that once the basic necessities are met is when you start moving towards things you love. And sports is one of the things you love, right? So when roti, kapda, makan, electricity, internet, when these are not issues, then you start moving towards, yeah, volleyball. How about that? You know, that exists. Maybe I should go or NBA or like X number of sports or coffee. For example, that's a huge topic. Like a major reason I moved to Canada is because I did not like coffee in India. So I decided might as well get better coffee, man. Like, so let's go deeper into this. What transition do you see in India in the recent times that you actually believe that volleyball might be a big part of the country's future?
See, I'll take a minute to talk about this because let's talk about sports in general, and then I'll tell you why volleyball specifically. Right? Like, I mean, there are 110 sports out there, and why am I doing this specific sport? I think, you know, a very wise man, I don't remember who said this to me, but I think
Winston Churchill. He says everything.
no, he actually didn't say this one, but he somebody ingrained this in my mind very early on, that it is better to be a mediocre player in a sector that is going to flourish and outperform than to even be the best in a dying sector. Because even if you're the best in a dying sector, you're only going to be a survivor. But even if you're a mediocre player in a flourishing sector, you're going to be better than the rest of the market. And these words really stuck by me, you know, like, I mean, it just made an impact on me and it made a lot of sense to me.
And we're seeing proof of that in a sector like cricket with IPL. You see so many people who are, you know, earlier on, you hear these stories of people who spent their entire lives playing in the domestic leagues and not really making too much out of themselves. And today there are people who are just playing the IPL and the domestic leagues and are doing very well for themselves.
Very well. I think the Rajasthan Premier League or something is going on right now. Tamil Nadu Premier League just happened.
Yeah, that's just started or something like that.
See, the IPL has sort of, you know, set the groundwork for the entire country's sporting ecosystem. Think about this, right? 2008, the IPL started. 2023, the Women's League happened, right? 15 years. But I promise you, it's not going to take 15 years for us to start a Women's League in volleyball, or for there to be a female aspect to it for the NBA version, the basketball league that is coming up. Badminton already has women players. Tennis already has women players. So the groundwork that they set up with the investments that they made, right? Kabaddi started in 2014 and it set up and it has reached where it has reached with under 500 crores of investment. So that setup was done by the IPL, right? Kudos to them, credit to cricket for that. And I'm not even going to try insinuating that cricket has not spearheaded the sporting ecosystem of India where it is today and where it is heading in the future as well. 9,225 crores was the marketing spends of the sporting industry in 2021, which was the last normal year that has been recorded. 90% of that was in cricket, on cricket. Right? And there's a reason for that, because our other sports haven't grown enough. मतलब आज अगर मेरे पास viewers ही नहीं है, तो brand आके क्यों पैसे लगाएगा? Corporate आके क्यों उस sport को develop करेगा? Right? Like, it's a vicious circle. It's a chicken and egg problem, right? See, the government, you can't rely on the government that they're going to develop everything. You know, we still just 76 years old, right? We're still going to take a couple more decades to reach where the government has fixed every problem. But until then, right, a sport has to develop, and how will it develop? It will develop only when the next generation of players and the one after that and the one after that are being trained. And that takes resources. So unless corporates like JSW, like GMR, like the Sanjeev Goenka Group, like the Adani Foundation, the Reliance Sports Foundation, until these people started pouring in resources in developing sports, today Neeraj Chopra is a byproduct of one of these foundations, right? That is when we actually start developing these players and we start doing good. So as far as what my hypothesis was, it was simple that the sporting sector, the industry in India is on the rise, right? You wake up anybody from half asleep state and you ask them, is sports going to grow in India in the next 10 years? And they're going to be like, definitely yes. Because we can see the trends happening, right? We've started hosting international events. We've started performing and participating more in international events. Locally, there are more activities happening. We are more fitness aware, especially after COVID. Also, we have become, as a generation of human beings, we've just become more aware of physical wellness, right? We've started engaging in physical activities more. So everybody agrees on the simple fact Now, when I was graduating from my B school, I was like, okay, everybody's agreeing on it, but what are people doing about it? Like, is it just going to be something that unfolds in front of all our eyes and we did nothing about it? Why don't I place myself in the middle of all of this happening around me? And even if I'd end up being a mediocre person making average decisions, I'll hopefully, land up somewhere in a comfortable spot myself. And I'll end up doing some good for the society and the country. Why volleyball? Is because I am extremely intrigued and excited about things which have a mass impact. Like today, golf is a great sport. A lot of my close friends play it. My family plays it. It's a great sport. But it is an elite sport, right? It is an expensive sport. So is cricket. And if you think about it, so is football, because you need a big field. We live in a day and age where space is, like, in Bombay, right? Like, has anybody ever played on a full-size field in Bombay? I really doubt it. Everybody's playing futsal on a turf, right? So, I'm nothing against Bombay or futsal or football in any way, right? Volleyball has a deep cultural heritage in India, in Bengal. I'm very I try to be very politically correct at all times because I have fallen in trouble before.
I'm going to cut out your diplomacy out of the episode.
I have fallen in so much trouble before. I cannot emphasize enough on it, right?
We're going to snip out all your political correctness. Is going to be snip, 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 clickbait, clickbait, clickbait.
Dude, I've fallen in serious trouble before. So I try to be as politically correct because... So nowadays I start my speech saying, I love Virat Kohli. That's the first statement I make, right? Please, no Virat Kohli fans start posting hate comments on my video. So, or my interview, right? But coming back to what I was saying was, completely lost my train of thought. Thanks, guys. But no, yeah, volleyball, right? So, it has a deep history in India because it is a common man's game, right? If you think about it from a resource point, all you need is a string that can serve as your net, a ball, and 26 feet by 52.5 feet space, right? Like, we can play it in like literally most parking lots in every building that you see around yourself. It is that resource light. Unfortunately, we don't even have this much resources in the country, right? There are people playing with a piece of cloth wrapped around with strings and a ball, and people are still playing with it in villages 50 kilometers from Calcutta, 50 kilometers from Guwahati. That's the reality of the situation. But what I realized was that this is a sport in which internationally also we are at a comparable level. If let's say the world standard is 100, we're probably at like a 70. So maybe in another 5 to 7 years, if the right resources, training, everything is done, then maybe we can perform well internationally as well. So that's tick number one of what I said about the tribal nature of human beings. Number two, the sheer number of volleyball players. You ask anybody, your age, elder to you, whatever, right? Have you played volleyball in your life? 9 out of 10 times a person is going to say yes at some point. School, college, childhood days, whatever, right? Like, the oldies used to play during the weekend and stuff as well. People like us, you've probably just played it in school. But regardless, everybody is like, touched the volleyball, tried doing 1 or 2 shots, stuff like that. Right? Tried a serve or 2 in their school days, college days, whatever. And this is something which is common across all people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So what I realized was that this is a product which has a mass reach. There is a void in the market because there's not a professional league which has happened so far successfully. The federation has been de-recognized by the government, so there is no hindrance to us to form a private league. So we can be the decision makers and the key stakeholders, and our incentives will always be aligned in favor of the players because players are your topmost asset. So see, there are 2 ways of owning a sports team, right? One is the IPL way, where the platform is so big that you don't really have to do anything in the background. If you do anything in the background, great. If not, it's okay, right? You have your team, you do your auction, they come, they train, they play, they entertain, and that's the end of it. And for the rest 10 months of the year, you are involved in other activities, probably in other sporting leagues, junior leagues, state leagues that are going on, stuff like that. Now internationally also, LA Knight Riders ho gaya, Abu Dhabi Knight Riders ho gaya, Hena Tena, all of the above. Or the other way about it was, I thought was, I am going to dedicate my time and my resources in developing, training, promoting the next generation of players in Bengal. Because Bengal is my home ground, right? I mean, दिया सबसे पहले खुद के घर में जलाते हैं, फिर बाजू वाले के घर जाते हैं. So I thought, okay, I'm the only representative team from the entire eastern seaboard of India, right? So I've got Bengal, Assam, and the Seven Sisters, Jharkhand, Bihar, Odisha, all of these come under my jurisdiction until a new franchisee comes from here. And there's not another major city over here that's actually going to end up bidding for another franchisee. So I thought I got 13 states to have my jurisdiction over. That gives me 13 states, people from 13 states to sort of unite. I'm starting all my pilot projects from Bengal for talent development, for talent promotion. And at the same time, I am in close coordination with the governments, with the sporting bodies, with the local authorities from all of these other 12 states as well. So that whatever I find is the most productive, most useful, I can duplicate 10 times over in the neighboring states. And the impact can be that manifold. So what I started doing was that, see, we are modeled exactly after the IPL. We play during the month of February for around 35 to 45 days. There's a month of training before that. There's an auction that happens 3 months before that. So it's exactly modeled like the IPL. It's a round robin format and everything. What I do for the rest 9 months of the year is talent development, talent promotion in the masses. Because if I want hundreds of millions of viewers, right, it's not going to be people who I'm friends with or my buds from undergrad or my buds from MBA, because people like us, white collar job people, have too much work on their plate, right? Like, I mean, unless you are like a diehard fan, which is going to take decades for any sporting club or franchisee or team to garner that loyalty from fans like that United has for like people like you and me. Until then, it is very important to reach the people. So I started doing a lot of training and development campaigns, programs, boot camps for the people who are not as privileged as us. I started finding ways of how I can promote the talented ones, train the ones who are on the right path, identify the right talent and promote them, give them a platform so that they can actually take this up seriously, become serious players. Because today India has great players, right? Our team just went up until the top 10 in the Asian Championship in Iran. And I'm sure we're going to do pretty well in the Asian Games as well. But what when this batch of players retire? Who's going to fill their shoes?
I have one comment and I have one problem, and I feel like both of them are intermingled. The problem is that when I was younger, I always felt that volleyball was an uncle game. Because when you would go to stadiums, so I'm from Panipat. Panipat is a small town next to Delhi. And when you would go to stadiums, there were 2 volleyball courts there, always filled with uncles playing volleyball. So we were like, okay, older people play this game. So there was no jazz about it. There was no, oh, I'm going to school, I'll play volleyball. It was always, I'll play football because Beckham, or I'll play like cricket because Sachin Tendulkar, right? That was the younger years. Here, volleyball is like awesome, like crazy. America, Canada, they're crazy about volleyball. From schools, people start playing volleyball at the ages of 6, 7, 8, and then they build themselves to play like very high-level competitions, very similar to England in football, right? Yeah, scholarships in colleges, then you get TV deals, you get money out of playing volleyball, and like any of these sports, even like throwing that stone on the marble thing makes you money here, right? How do you establish that sparkle and the jazz in the absolute young people in the country? How do you get that? Because you want people to grow from the ages of 6, 7 to grow up saying, I'm going to be a volleyball player.
There are 3 ways. I'm glad you asked me this question, right? There are 3 simple steps of achieving what you exactly mentioned. And this was exactly on the minds of the founders of Prime Volleyball League, the founders of Kolkata Thunderbolts, the top management of both of these bodies, right? Number 1, it needs glitz and glamour. The Hyderabad team is co-owned by Vijay Deverakonda, one of the most popular actors in the South. We've got another female actress who's coming in to buy a stake in one of the other teams, right? You need to have glamour, otherwise it's just going to be unattractive to the entire youth. Number 2, you need heroes. Comes back to what you said about stories from Sapiens, right? Cultures and teams are built around heroes. The 83 team, it had Kapil Dev and Sunil Gavaskar as the heroes. The 2011 team had Dhoni and Tendulkar and Kohli as like the heroes, right? United had Beckham and Ronaldo, and like, it's one hero after the other. It's like a passing down of the torch, right? So the same way in volleyball as well, we need our heroes, right? The captain of the Indian team was the captain of my team as well. He's a hero in the volleyball community. I have to dramatize him and create stories around him, and you have to make him a larger than life image. When he becomes big, he's going to inspire that next generation of people who can relate to him. They need to see him. I sponsored a fashion show in Calcutta to make him the showstopper of that show, right? So that they can see this 6'8" hunk of a man, bloody good looking, he looks like he's out of KGF, dude. He looks like Yash from KGF. And this is not me saying it. The Hambale production house owners came for the matches and they were like, he should be in KGF 3. And I was like, sir, I will go produce the movie with you if you take him in the role. Right? So that is what the focus has to be on. You have to make heroes out of these guys. So that's the step. That's the second step. And the third step is you got to give an outlet or a platform, call to action for when you have generated this spark. Right? If I just do this on a screen and if I don't have a physical touch point where I am actually giving these guys an option to interact with my brand and play also, then there's no point to this. There's no call to action. Today, for the rest of the year, I don't do anything major. I do like small stuff, like, I do like very meaningful, very engaging stuff on the ground, but I don't do like, loud things like on TV or newspapers or media or whatever, right? I wait until December and January. I wait until November when volleyball season is actually like kicking in. And then I go out with a bang and I introduce volleyball in every sphere of everybody's life. Schools, colleges, societies, social clubs, everywhere. Right now, we have a massive tournament coming up in September. So what we realized was that if we truly want people to accept us, हमें घर के अंदर घुसना पड़ेगा. घर के अंदर कैसे घुसे? बंगाल में दुर्गा पूजा से बड़ा कोई नहीं है. ठीक है? दुर्गा पूजा मतलब सबका बाप. The most influential people of a pada, right, of a Bengali pada, form the Durga Puja committee. कि यहाँ पे ये ऐसा पंडाल बनेगा, ये इसका बजट होगा, लोग डोनेशन देंगे. बॉम्बे में गणेश चतुर्थी, बंगाल में दुर्गा पूजा. चंदा इकट्ठा होगा, पंडाल बनेगा.
For all those who don't know what pada means, it's a local word for neighborhood.
Yeah. So I realized that if I go to these padas and I ask these puja committees to participate in a tournament, right? Send in any player. You want to send your son, you send your son. You want to send in professional players so that your team can win and you can get the glory of it? Sure, do it. I'll give you lakhs and lakhs of rupees as cash prizes, trophies, media attention, paper cutouts, paper advertisements, everything. All the glitz and glamour is there that brings you pride and joy. Right? That creates that excitement inside you. And I'm not even asking you for money for registration. It's free. Last year, I did this tournament with 48 Durga Puja committees. This year, I'm doing it with 64 committees. That means 64 neighborhoods of Calcutta get activated at the same time because the team starts practicing in those neighborhoods, in the local grounds. When they are practicing, their parents, people passing by, everybody starts coming. I give them a ball and net and I set up a court for them also in 64 locations. They start practicing. People start, all the passerbys, they start noticing खेल हो रहा है, game हो रहा है, people are playing, right? And then during the tournament, thousands of people come and watch the games. I give out food and drinks and everything for free, for craze, right? Like a celebration of the festival. Because I'm trying to blend into and integrate myself into the Durga Puja theme of Bengal. I kid you not, Akhil, I kid you not, Vishwat. Last year, up until 2021, my family has been very big on Durga Puja for the longest time, right? Ever since childhood. बचपन में जिस दुर्गा पूजा पंडाल को देखने के लिए I have personally so 3 hours in a line, in a queue, because there were no VIP passes, no nothing. You want to see the puja, you stand in a queue, you walk like a normal man, you see the pandal, you see the murti, you do your darshan and then you bounce, right? That committee was participating in the tournament and they had such a good time and they felt so nice about the way we treated them and everything. They called us to inaugurate that pandal. Imagine from going 3 hours of standing in a line, cut to 10 years today, we inaugurated that pandal and they stopped the entire public for us. I couldn't stop weeping. That is the power of sentiment. We are in such a sentimental state. When people realize that what I'm trying to do is I'm only trying to promote a sport so that their kids can play and have an alternative sport as a future, as a career, Because the rule of India is that if you represent the state and win a medal, you get a job. You represent the country, you don't even have to win a medal. You get a job in the government, right? This opens up doors of employment. Hundreds and thousands of athletes of different sports in India are employed in the public sector. This is a means of employment. They can play in local tournaments and earn money. They can play for registered clubs and they can earn money. There was a girl who we supported. We made her, try out for the railways team. The way this happened was we organized a women's tournament and we called some executives from the railways, either from the Eastern Railways, to come and see the tournament. They identified the talent in a couple of players. They called 2-3 of them for the tryouts. One of them actually ended up getting a job. This poor girl, right, and I have not said this on any news outlet or anything yet, and I'm going to skip taking her name even now because I don't want to create a ruckus around her. This poor girl did not have a father. Her mother was scrubbing dishes in 5 houses to make their ends meet. She now has a job that pays her 70,000 rupees a month in Southwestern Railways. Now, looking at her, 50 girls in her neighborhood will come and start playing volleyball. That if she can do it, I can do it. See, today you can't look at Kohli and everybody to get inspiration because the practicality that has been ingrained inside us by all our elders is that he is different, he is made differently, he is built differently. But today, if you see the guy next to you doing it, why not? Last year when I did this massive tournament, the Durga Puja tournament that I'm talking about, I announced that if I find talent over here, I will take you to play for Kolkata Thunderbolts on national television. We actually identified a player who's 21 years old now. He played for Thunderbolts in Prime Volleyball League, helping us gain that league topper position. Now see, today they can see somebody, they can see my captain play and they can be like, okay, that guy's built differently. But when you see the guy who was having tea with you at the stall last week, has now become a nationally renowned player and he's on track to play for India in the next 3 years. He's 21 right now and he's known nationally. In the next 3 years, he's going to be playing for India by the time he reaches the prime of his career. That's when you start thinking that, these opportunities are not out of my grasp anymore. They are within reach. And that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give them hope. I'm trying to create an aspirational value around volleyball so that there are people who see the glitz and the glamour that we spoke about. That is important. That is what makes it attractive. But then what about the monetary compensation? Right? If money is everything at the end of the day. For you, for me, for them, for everybody. So until they can see that we can actually make a career out of this and support their family and their dreams and their indulgences, they're not going to come for it.
Don't you think it could be a double-edged sword? It's not the most fascinating thing for a sport that people are trying to get into the sport to get a government job. Like, I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just asking your opinion on this.
See, what happens with the government job is that until they are in their prime or in a playable condition of the body, they play and they're supported by the government salary. And once they are not in a state to play anymore, they become a regular employee. See, today, imagine if you're a professional player for, let's say, basketball, right? Now, how are you going to be paying your bills? Because you don't have the NBA and you're not an NBA player yet, right? But if you've played for the state and won in the national games, right, at least you have a job that pays you a decent salary, that roti, kapda, makan is taken care of. And you can continue to focus on your goal, on your dream to become a better and better player. And the higher up you go, the more you start earning by playing for tournaments, by playing for clubs, by endorsements and all of that. And then you can eventually end up leaving your job. So Dhoni got a government job as well, right? I mean, when was it that he finally left the job? Much, much later. So the same with the captain of my team, Ashwal, he has a job in the railways. But he's playing 24/7, like he's being paid to play volleyball by the government because the government realizes his potential as an athlete.
Just another throwback to a movie because I think we tend to relate to movies better. I remember an early scene in Dangal where they showed a young Amir Khan fighting another guy from his office. And that guy goes, oh, you just defeated a state level champion. And Amir Khan goes, oh, don't worry about it. You've lost to a national level champion. And that's basically what I think Sumedh's referring to, where both of those guys were wrestlers in their prime. Both of those guys had they built their, identity with wrestling, and they'd gotten to the point where they both had jobs in that particular company, which was a government associate. And I think, Akhil, what it comes down to also is this whole, we have this very basic mentality here in India ki pehle stability le lo, as we have alluded to so often. And so this government job, this particular X amount of money that player is receiving every month is that stability. Whatever, and that stability is, okay, you go and play. Like as Sumedh mentioned, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, he was like, okay, you do your job for whatever 3-4 hours a day, and then you have to practice 4, 5, 6 hours a day. So there was that trade-off, and I guess it's similar for most of these guys.
And also think about this now, Vishnu, just to add to what you're saying, right? Like, I mean, see, imagine people like you and me, right? We're working from the age of 21, 22, 23, right? By the time we reach the age of 40, we have professionally upskilled ourselves by 17 years of experience, right? Now, if I'm an athlete and I was playing up until the age of 38, 39, 40, and then when I go to do a job, who's going to hire me? I don't have that professional experience. So I need something to fall back on that has allowed me, that gives me that cushion to learn on the job, still have that stability while I'm learning on the job. Of course, the learning curve is going to be very steep for me. But today, would you hire a 40-year-old athlete who just retired from playing, who doesn't know anything professionally?
I think the answer for that is with this fellow called Kern. We did a recording with him. I think the episode should be out by the time this episode is out. And he discusses about wealth management. And he says, in the heyday of your life, when you are making money, learn what to do with the money rather than spend it all out. So that by the time you get to 40, you have enough to sustain you. I do think this sustenance part works really well. It has been working amazingly well for Indian chess. So as we know, Prague was in the finals of the chess, almost beat Carlsen, but the game got extended by 2 days, and like at the end of it, he lost, unfortunately. But India, by sheer numbers, I think is either the top or the second to top in the number of grandmasters it produces now in the world of chess. And as soon as you become an international master, you have a stipend from the government, which increases as soon as you become a grandmaster. So people are really running towards that stipend, and that really works well.
See, that's the thing, right? Now I'll tell you something interesting that you mentioned chess. Do you know the first grandmaster of India who that was? Of course, everybody knows it, right? Vishwanathan. Right? Do you know what the second was? He's an Arjuna award who actually stays in Calcutta. His name is Dibyendu Barua. Right? He was involved with the chess league that the Mahindra group did right now. He's involved with training the younger athletes. He's doing everything, right? But see, the problem is that, unfortunately, only a few get the name, fame, recognition, and the money that flows with it. Right? In a country that has millions of cricketers, there's only one Virat. There's only one Sachin. So if you were to even tally up the numbers, let's say there were 500 cricketers who have earned name, fame, and glory in the last 50 years. But we have 1 million cricketers in India with great talent. Right? So as soon as you start thinking about it from like the big picture scenario, you realize how important these jobs are. Because how on earth are these guys going to pay for their families, for sustaining life? So this is something that the government does, that I give out my heart and soul to them for this. And no matter how many fingers are raised on them about how inefficient the system is or whatever it is, the fact that we have a system like this in India in place for the last 50 years or so, it's bloody impressive.
I saw this short today. I don't know if it relates. Let's see if it relates. If it doesn't, like, it's a very negative short. So basically, this guy asked this lady, he's like, if you were to marry this guy and he asks you to sign up a prenup. A prenup is a contract before marriage based on which you say, okay, I won't take you for half of everything if we get divorced. So he asks her, if the guy asks you to sign a prenup, will you marry him? She says, if you tell me that, I am building my career, I am a self-dependent woman, and you ask me to sign a prenup, I'll do it. If you tell me, hey babe, I'm going to fly you out, you don't need to do anything, and we're going to have 3 kids, and you're going to raise them, and I spent 20 years of my life raising your kids, and then you suddenly are like, okay, bye, we are getting a divorce, then I'll take you for half your ass. So I feel this somewhere relates.
Give me an analogy that you're trying to draw, that if I am investing my time into trying to bring glory for the country by excelling in the sport that I'm playing, then doesn't the country owe me something? But I far-fetched analogy, but yeah, gives you the idea. We owe it to the athlete. We owe it to the athlete. And there's so many unsung heroes. There's so many unsung heroes. We actually also support a lot of these athletes, like, who slip through the system, whose names just fall through. And even though they have been amazing athletes and they are also doing a lot for the future generations, the next generations, and all of that, somehow they just end up not getting the due recognition, the due compensation, and stuff like that. So we make it a point at Kolkata Thunderbolts, and even Calicut Heroes does this. A couple of the other franchises from my league, they do this, where we celebrate these unsung heroes and we try to support them in whatever little way that we can. So we are actually underway, and I'm glad to be talking to you guys about this. So because we just had an internal meeting earlier this week, and we're actually going to be announcing the Thunderbolts Foundation very soon. Because what we realized was that there are a lot of companies who want to use the CSR funds towards the development of sports for the youth in India, for the underprivileged, and we want to be able to channelize these resources in the right direction, rather than just some stupid fences along the street or something, right? Like we really think that, okay, if you're a company that wants to contribute to this, then we have found ways of minimizing expenses and maximizing the impact. And instead of asking a company to unfairly allocate its marketing budget, which is not going to be it'll generate goodwill for the company, of course, but it's not going to generate sales for the company. So we felt that it is in a way unfair to even ask companies to sort of dedicate the marketing budgets towards the development of sports, because that's not really going to bring them that benefit of a marketing budget. So maybe going the CSR route will be more productive, more fruitful. It will be more conducive to the current situation, and we'll be able to create more of an impact on the sporting ecosystem of India.
So Sumedh, coming back to the whole formation of the league and how it goes about, if you had to detail a series of steps that, if today someone had to form a sports league, a privately run and owned sports league, how would they go about it?
See, I think first and foremost, there are a couple sports in India which do not currently have a permanent federation running the sport or promoting, managing the sport because of whatever internal issues that happen. So a couple of these federations are deregulated. I inherently believe that the Indian Olympic Association or the State Olympic Association, whichever state you belong to, or the federation of the respective sports, right? They are primarily for the promotion of a sport. So I don't think having a private league is the way to go about it for all sports. I don't think that is a blanket solution. The situation that we were in, because there was no federation at that time, we did not even have an alternate. And we'd already tried running with the federation before they were derecognized. But then because of various corruption scams and allegations and all of that, it had all gone to shit. So I think if you can work with the federation, because even the federation wants to promote a sport, right? I know the archery guys want to. I know the Kho-Kho guys want to. So many different sports, right? So they are in favor of having these leagues because they can see the kind of impact that it can create on the sport. Look at Kabaddi, dude. Did you ever imagine that on international television, people will be watching Kabaddi? Right? You and I don't know the rules of Kabaddi. But it is being played professionally, and there are people who are now more seriously adopting the sport, who are playing the sport rurally and in urban areas.
And it's played to a highly professional level, I must say. It was not something I expected.
The production is also amazing.
Yeah. I remember watching a couple of games. I think it was a while back. You said it started in 2014. I think it was about 2018 or 19 that I remember watching some games. And, we always look at Kabaddi as, you used to play that when we were younger, and, it's like a fun thing. There's a few movies which have iconic Kabaddi scenes, but they're all very amateurish Kabaddi scenes. You never really saw Kabaddi in a very professional setting before this league. At least I didn't.
Exactly, right? So the federations also appreciate the impact that sporting leagues can have on the overall sports development in the country. So I think that is a great way to go about it, of working with the federation. What you need first and foremost is a group of corporates or investors who are willing to go the distance with you. When we got on this franchisee, so the league's CEO is Joy Bhattacharya, and the league is exclusively marketed by Baseline Ventures. So we met with the MD of Baseline, which is Tuheen and Joy in Delhi. And the league was already going to be happening. We didn't start the league. The league had already come to existence. And we went to talk to them about selling us the Kolkata franchisee. So the only conversation we had with them was simple, that it will take up to 5 years for this league to become profitable in terms of financial viability, right? You need to have the stomach to, just bear and sustain these losses and this investment. It's not a loss, it's an investment for a prolonged period of time. The problem is with today's investors, with today's businessmen, or with our generation as well, right? We want quick money, right? Everybody wants a quick turnaround. Everybody wants to invest money in a Lakshmi Chit Fund from Hera Fairy, right? Like, that's then paise double. But it doesn't work that way, right? Every company, try putting a factory together, dude. Try setting up a new factory. Tell me how many years is this going to take for you to get your principal investment back? Right? That also, if the overall industry is doing good that season of 7 years or 10 years, that industry cycle. So the same way the sports league, right? First, you have to get a group of people who are coming together, pooling in resources and creating this. We were very lucky in this. We had the Muthoot FinCorp people, right? The Muthoot family. We had Ankit Nagori from EatFit, Culfit, amazing angel investor and a mad passion for sports, and he really understands the market very well. We had someone like an Abhishek Reddy who owns 5 sports teams, so he really understands the business very well. We had Safir, who's a very renowned entrepreneur down from Kerala. He has 7 companies, doing wonderful, right? Now we have the PhonePe founders, Samir and Rahul. They own the Bombay team, right? So it's like really smart, talented people, and the CEO is Joy Bhattacharya, right? He's a veteran in himself. So you really need that group of people who can really come together and create something magical, because this is nothing short of magic. Then you need deep pockets to sustain something for 3, 4, 5 years. Because first you need a proof of concept. If you think you're just going to set up an idea and people are going to pay you for it and you're going to make money, then you're living in a make-believe world. Another wise person said to me, कि good ideas रोज तुम जाते हैं बाथरूम में 10 आते हैं. It's not about the idea. It's about the execution. Right? If it was only about the idea, the first mover advantage would have been infinite. But it's not. It's about the execution. So you have to grow at a pace, at a scale that you can stomach, that you can sustain. You can't go by spending 1 crore in the first year, then 20 crore in the second year, and then by the third year you can't. See, because पहला साल लॉस लगता है कोई बात नहीं, स्टार्टअप है. दूसरे साल लॉस लगता है, बुरा लगता है. तीसरे साल हिम्मत टूट जाता है. So you need to be very smart in the way. हम लोग को देखो, पहला 2 साल लॉस किया, लेकिन लॉस इतना ज़्यादा किया कि थर्ड ईयर को पहले फंड कर दिया, बिकॉज पता था थर्ड ईयर आते आते लोगों का हिम्मत टूटने लग जाएगा. So the way we've actually scaled up and the way we've planned the finances for the league is very, very amazing. And I think, Ahmedabad is actually doing a case study on the structure of the league that we've created. And it's going to be out on public domains very soon for everybody to, sort of read and take inspiration from, that this is the model that works, right? If you make franchisee owners also stakeholders in the league, the way it happens in the NBA, the way it happens in the NFL, then automatically you have your skin in the game. Then it doesn't become a scenario where the league is winning for sure, the franchisee may or may not make money. At the end of the day, everyone has to be making money, otherwise it's not going to be sustainable. If you're just going to spiral down and then cease to exist at some point. Because we are the team owner and we are also the league owner, there is no scenario in which only one of us is winning. Either we're both going to lose or we're both going to win. And at least the way the viewership and everything is going, things are looking positive. The second thing about how to set up a sports league is to understand technical aspects of the viewer. Today, we have reached the golden era of technology in India again. We've got more than 750 million smartphone users. The primary form of content consumption has changed from TV to a cell phone. Now, today, a sports league like hockey, right? If you're watching it on your smartphone, right, a hockey match, the ball is so small, you won't be able to track it. Right? The cameras are moving so quickly. On your phone, it doesn't make sense. On a big screen, it makes a lot of sense because you've got a wide angle. But on your cell phone, it doesn't make too much sense. The way we do it, it's a fixed camera angle, right? The frame is fixed because it's a small space. The ball is big, so it's easy to track the ball. It's high paced. It creates excitement. So you need to have these sort of features in the televised product. I'm not saying any sport is boring. All sports are fun, yaar. You start playing any sport, you feel the exhilaration. But the idea is that, is it a good TV product? That is something that you need to understand. If it is not a good TV product, then don't try to spend money on it and waste resources. Then why don't you just make it a live spectation product that you're only going to focus on the ticket sales of gathering 10,000 people around yourself in a stadium and then making it a good show? Then don't try to sell it on TV. If it's going to make a good TV product, then remember people are watching it on their smartphones. And then maybe more than cable TV, they're going to be watching it on OTT platforms today, because OTT platforms is completely replaced cable TV for the most bit. So maybe you need to start really focusing on building your OTT product as well. You need to be making your digital assets as well. You need to have certain hygiene checks in place. That what you're spending today, are you hoping for a miracle to happen for you to recoup it? Or do you see a sustainable way for things to pan out and for the money to come back? वरना शौक में इंसान 1 साल 2 साल चला सकता है, धंधा नहीं बना सकता उसको. You cannot make a business model out of it.
Let's talk about the magic. Let's talk about the path forward. It's the third year. You've already had funding for this year. Am I correct? It's the third year?
Yes. So the way we actually set it up is that we now have a corpus of funds that we've accumulated from the franchisees in the league, and the outflows this year are going to be minimal as compared to the last 2 years. And we've of course accounted for very conservatively for the revenues that we're expecting to make this year. But the markets are looking far more conducive this year than they were last year in terms of the marketing spends the companies are doing. See, because there was a delayed reaction of COVID as well in the last year. So, industries were just picking up, so they weren't actively spending, and the liquidity was coming to a halt. See, what happens is, as soon as the liquidity crisis happens, right, it's like the stripper index in the US, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have read that theory. There's as soon as an economic crisis is supposed to happen, one of the markers they joke about is the stripper index, that people start spending lesser and lesser money in strip clubs because they have lesser disposable income. Right? ATL marketing is one such game. It's one such index. So today, if your liquidity is going to be drying up, right, that means startups are going to have lesser money to blow. These unicorns, legacy companies, all of them, they are falling short of money. And there is a fixed amount of money that they need for their operations. So the first place that any company, any management decides to reduce its spending is marketing. So in 2022, what actually happened was that in the entire economy, the liquidity was drying up as a delayed reaction of COVID, as a delayed reaction of GST and multiple other macroeconomic factors as well. So what happened was that the market became less conducive. Two of the most biggest players in marketing, in advertising, Byju's and Cred, they both practically have gone under. Right? We keep reading about the crisis that both of these companies are facing. So we felt the jolt as well. Fortunately, we were in a comfortable position. We made the same amount of money as the first year, so we were good. And on a team level, we grew our revenues by 93% between the first and the second year. I'm pretty sure this year is going to be even bigger, because if in a negative environment we were able to grow this much, see, this is like it's a snowball effect. The momentum and the gravity, it just keeps on growing. See, the first year nobody was ready to pay me a penny, because they were like, "Are you mad or what? Who the bloody hell watches volleyball? Why the hell should I pay you money to put my brand onto you?" Right? If you're not going to have viewers. But the first year we had 133 million viewers. 13 crore log, yaar. 13 crores. That's a good number. So the second year we went and we told people, look, this is our numbers from last year. This is Sony's viewership certificate. This is Bark's report. So people started believing us because there's proof of concept. And second year we went and we hit the ball out of the park with 205 million viewers. So now it becomes that much simpler for me, because now I have 2 years of proof of our performance in terms of viewership, our performance as a team. So today when I go to Sham Steel and Excite and ITC, whoever, and I say that, you get to advertise with me onto this platform, and if you actually compare the cost to benefit ratio, which is, they call it the media ROI, right? If, let's say, an IPL is giving you a ratio of 1:6 for every penny for every rupee that you spend on sponsorship, you get 6 rupees of media benefits out of it. There's a scientific calculation for it. I am actually giving you 1:13, 1:15, because my base is much smaller right now. My ticket sizes are much smaller because my operations are that less expensive. So for season 3, we are super duper excited because, I already have brands. We already have some collaborations. I've already laid the groundwork for it. We're in the process of announcing some really exciting stuff. We might have an exclusive shoe line coming up very soon. We have some apparel partnerships coming up very soon. We have some really interesting stuff which is in the pipeline, and fingers crossed we'll make a good season out of it. Yeah. Today, if I see, how bored are you of watching ads while watching your friends' stories on Instagram? Right? How irritated are you? Right? The other day, I posted a story saying at Instagram, I'm seeing stories in between my ads, please fix. Right? That is the level of saturation social media has reached. Right? We are back to a world where people are craving physical touch, physical access, physical presence. Meaningful engagement can help solve that problem. Today, I know so many brands, they have a brand ambassador for the last 10, 15 years. They're paying them crores and crores every year. Today, have you tried driving? Akhil, I don't know if you know Calcutta well, but if you drive from here, where Vishwas and I stay, to the airport, just count the number of billboards you'll see Dada on. Saurav Ganguly, right? You will start laughing. How can so many brands be after only one person? And I am the biggest fangirl for Dada in the world. Like, even today when I run into him, I just go like, I just like keep staring at him. Like, he's amazing. But what I'm trying to say is that now it is just like, people have started blocking that. While driving, while going to Durga Puja and stuff, people have just started blocking all these advertisements. So what you need again is meaningful engagement. And this is what we are trying to create. So that is the way forward. And again, the foundation that I spoke to you about, that people who actually want to do something about developing the sporting ecosystem, it gives them an outlay of without, sort of eating into the marketing budget, which will affect their top line and sort of maybe make them answerable to the investors and the stakeholders of the company. If they can use the CSR fund, which is supposed to be diverted toward doing something for the society, why not?
The funniest part is that most of the leagues in the world are developed by the private sector before government starts intervening in them. English Premier League used to be a bunch of industries, and industrial workers there used to be the teams of those industries. When you see Manchester United and you see Cardiff City and you see the older teams, some of them are literally named after the factories that had the workers coming in. And then one day this man decides, I don't know, he got someone from Ireland to play for his factory team, and this dude didn't really work in the factory, but he used to just play football. They realized how many people actually want to watch the factory teams, and then slowly the government started seeping in, and slowly it became the behemoth it is today. It is absolutely crazy the scale at which EPL goes today, right?
See, I think that is, so the same way, right? Like, I mean, that's why BCCI was first private, then it became public, now it is quasi. It's the same way. See, once you become too big, you want the government to have a part in it because A, they don't want to miss out, and B, it also gives you the sort of legitimacy and the confidence of the people that you are in check in a certain way, which is not the worst thing, according to me.
You are creating the same scenario as industries. Instead of industries, they are the
corporate houses.
No, the smaller religious groups. What did you call them? I forgot the word.
Puja committees.
The puja committees. So you're doing it with them, right? Each committee is their own little circle, and then maybe you'll build a tree out of it, and then the tree will have different tiers that these are good players, these are worst. You can move up the tree, like England now has a bajillion, parts of their tree.
They've got A League, B League, and mini, they've got all that.
Yeah, it goes pretty deep, and then you can keep...
That is the idea. So what I am trying to do, if you ask me honestly, and if I were to tell you without you laughing at me, like what I'm trying to do is that, look, I started with Durga Puja committees, but I was basically trying to penetrate into the local neighborhoods. Now, once I've done this in Bengal, right, it is that's simple for me to do it in Jharkhand. It is because my team is set up, my infrastructure is set up. I know how to execute it. So what I want to do is I want to go state-wise, then I want to have an interstate thing, then I want to have an inter-zone thing in the country, and then internationally we're already playing the Prime Volleyball League. So that pipeline, I'm trying to create that pipeline.
Basically a domestic pipeline for volleyball, like the same way we have for cricket or any other sport. You have a very similar, and you build it up from the bottom up rather than going from, okay, we have zones, then we'll divide it further into state. You're going the other way around, where you're going neighborhood level, then maybe district level, then state level, and whatever.
That is the idea. And now with the different programs that we do, the different tournaments that we do, or the different campaigns that we do, we always try to target different age groups. See, because then you have to be moving up, right? So as you are growing older in age, you should be moving from a neighborhood level to a district level, then to a city level, then to a state level, and then you move internationally. So that is genuinely the idea. But it is a dream that's going to take around 8 to 10 years of culmination. Now, if I tell somebody that I have a plan in place which is going to take me 8 years, they're going to laugh at me. That Sumedh, परसों क्या करना है वो तो देखो पता नहीं है, 8 साल की बात कर रहे हैं. I like नहीं है, but big picture.
We are here for the crazies, bro. We don't laugh at founders. We've spoken to so many. Everybody's a little cuckoo, and we love the cuckoo because they are the ones who change the world, right? They are the ones who actually make a difference.
We follow this guy called Alex Hormozy, and he says humans often overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. And you should only talk to people who speak in decades. Founders who speak in months and years are stupid. Founders who speak in decades are the ones who wants to do something. So, bhai, you're not in the wrong. I'm glad you have a plan which is that far sighted. It's definitely something that you have to start with that goal and then find out, okay, that's my ultimate goal. How do I get there? You sit here and you sit here and you say that 8 years later, I want to form this, and you do nothing and you just sit here and you say, I want to form this. That's when people laugh at you.
You'll take the first step.
Yeah, you're taking that first step. You're actually implementing what you're saying. You're walking the talk.
Absolutely. And I'm very thankful to a lot of brands, a lot of corporate houses who are taking us extremely seriously, who are approaching us from the front. And we've been following you guys for the last couple of months. I'll name a couple of them, right? Like Cipla Health. So Cipla Health is an offshoot branch of Cipla. Cipla basically is into healthcare. Cipla Health is into wellness, right? So your pain relief medicines and stuff like that. So they actually reached out to us from Bangalore saying that Sumedh, somehow they reached me, I don't know how. And they were like, Sumedh, we've been following what you guys are doing. It's extremely impressive. We want to increase our presence in the Bengal market. You are creating an amazing platform. And why don't we collaborate? RuPay came in and sponsored 15 of the training camps. So I do a week-long boot camp in villages and districts. So I do one district at a time, 7 days, morning session and evening session, 3 hours each. We train 50 kids at a time. An ex-Indian level coach is training them. And we train a local coach at the same time as training the kids. For the 7 days, we look after the nutrition, food, jerseys, setting up the court, giving them the infrastructure and everything. And then when we leave after 7 days, we leave all of those things behind so that they can continue playing. We were doing this one camp at a time. In the last 3 months, we've completed 14 camps in 14 different districts of Bengal. So we're going to finish our circuit of 23 districts of Bengal very soon. And by rule, at least 30% of the participants in every camp have to be women players, female players, right? Now, once we finish these 23 districts, what we're doing is we're going to, number one, go back to the same location again so that we can train them now with a more advanced module, then more advanced, then more advanced. And now I've trained 4 teams of assistant coaches under this head coach for the last 3 months. So now I'm going to be doing 4 camps at a time. So my target is to finish 100 camps until February 2024. So I will have trained 5,000 kids in basic professional volleyball by the time season 3 happens.
Sumedh, I wish you and I, both of us, we wish you all the best. And we hope that, how India has a structure with Ranji and like city level cricket, state level cricket, country level cricket, and then school level, and then you form an international team of India, which comes out of 100 crore people, and then Australia win the World Cup. I hope we win the World Cup in volleyball. But we have a tradition on our podcast, and our tradition is that the last founder has asked you a question, and then we would like you to ask the next founder a question. So the question we have for you is, what is the moment in your life that will make you sign off from what you're doing now?
Not until I drop dead, dude.